guys, welcome back to Bait and Tackle. I'm your host Joe Frank, and today we're going to be doing a pretty special video. This is about how to make a mold negative with your 3D printer, which I just got probably a couple months ago. I've been fooling around with it for a while now. And I gotta say, this is a pretty incredible tool, especially for a bait maker. So you could, the part that I have a tough time with is the design aspect. So I actually asked one of my buddies, Anthony at Lazy Bait Co., to help me out on this one. So he had an idea, I kind of helped him with it, and we kind of made it a vision. So what we ended up doing was making a crawtail lead weight that's actually got a screw lock on it, and it has a line through. So you could pass your line through it, screw it into the end of the craw, and that's the tail of your end of your craw. It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna show you that pretty soon here, but I'm gonna step you through the process of what we did. So Anthony actually designed the actual mold negative itself and sent it to me, and I printed it out on my 3D printer, and I'm gonna show you some of that right now. I'm actually gonna show you some of the software on the computer, so you get to see what I'm doing here. So let me get you over to the computer and we'll start getting this thing going. But let me show you this real quick. But this is the mold negative. Okay, that's what you're going to be printing, and then it'll have a wall right here to block that off so you can fill it with silicone. Okay, that's a cavity, right? And then this is what you're going to make right here. This is the actual silicone mold itself. Okay, and this is RTV, like a high heat silicone RTV. And I'm going to show you the process on how to actually print what you have with my printer. It may be different with different printers. They have different slicer programs. So let's get you down here and I'll show you what I did for what I have. Okay, so I'm going to record this through my phone, but I'm going to actually be doing this on the computer as well and showing you some things. So this is the Bambu Labs slicer program, and I believe it's called Bambu Studio. And what you do is you'll get a file, and there could be multiple file types. You open it up in this, and then you can do what you need to do. So I can manipulate this stuff if I wanted to in the slicer program. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, I can adjust where I put it on this plate and where it prints. And by the way, I have a Bambu A1 Mini at the moment. I'm thinking about upgrading to a different one. But Bambu Labs is a great company, great beginner type things. If you want to do a 3D printer, I really suggest Bambu Labs. Not too bad, like a little over 200 bucks, I think, for the A1 Mini with a single color print option type thing. So not too bad at all. But this is the program. So Anthony designed this, like I said, and this came out spectacular. So what I ended up doing was, and I can scale this, so I made it a couple different sizes. And then what you do is come over here to slice, and you slice the actual design. And what that means is it's going to build it out to how the printer is actually going to print these layers. And there's all sorts of other options over here. You can play with the layer height, the initial layer height, all that kind of stuff. And it's all going to depend on your nozzle type, which size you have, which printer you have, which I have the A1 Mini right here, and then what type of plastic you're using. So this will do the estimate of everything that you're going to be doing with what you have set up in the program to print. And see what it says right here. It takes 1 hour and 34 minutes to print this entire model. But if you look at this, if I dumb this down a little bit, you can see how the model is red now. Well, if I take this little slide bar, it actually shows you the steps, if I slide it down, on how it prints by layer. See that? So it's going down through the model. So it's pretty cool how you can do that. See how the model prints itself on the printer. And then what you're going to do is hit print plate. And then this is just the setup before it goes. You can actually record a time lapse, which I'm going to show you. I actually did some time lapse of these. And I'm also going to show you everything we need to do as far as making the silicone molds and then pouring the lead. So you just hit send printer, send it, and then it'll print it the way you want it. And then, I mean, it comes out phenomenal. So the one thing I was concerned about was the quality of this, right? Because I wanted it smooth. I wanted it, as smooth as possible. So you may have to play around with the layer height and the initial layer stuff to get it as smooth as you want. Now, luckily, I didn't really have to do too much to this. Anthony definitely did a pretty good job setting this up. But the Bambu Labs software also did a very good job doing the slice part. So let me go ahead and stop this. And then I want to continue doing what I'm doing here. And I'm going to cut all this together and show you different videos. So I think what I'll do is I'll go into the time-lapse videos now. And I've got 2 time-lapse videos. This one is the bigger one. And I was playing with the camera on the Bambu Labs A1 Mini just to try to get different angles, but that's it right there, guys. So really cool video of the time-lapse of how it's actually printed on the printer. And I'm going to show you a second one too here. So really, really cool. See, I was playing with the camera angles here a little bit, and I've actually played with the camera on my A1 Mini and moved it outside of the box it's in, that kind of thing. So now we're going to get into the actual pouring of the silicone, mixing of the silicone. So this is Mold Max 60. It is a high heat RTV, specifically made for doing lead type pours. But there's also a trick, and I'm going to tell you what this, I'm going to kind of fill you in a little bit on the tricks and stuff about doing silicone molds with lead, because you got to be a little bit careful. So there's the molds. I used my daughter's hair bands to wrap around the plate on the end to keep it nice and tight, right? So there is a plate that comes with those, then that way it makes it a cavity. That's different sizes. So I had 125. That's the scale, so it's in percent, right? So I have 2 different sizes I'm pouring here today, and I just want to show you how this is done. So this is done by weight, and you have to have a scale, and you have to have something easy to mix it up in, and you kind of got to guess on how much you're going to use as far as enough silicone to pour into the molds when it's finished. So again, you have to have a small scale. You got to have the cup, stirring stuff, all that stuff. And I recommend getting some gloves. This stuff can get messy. So there's my little scale. Turn it on, and I'm going to change it to grams because it needs to be in grams. That's how this weight is calculated. So set the cup on there, make sure it's zeroed there so the cup is not added to the weight. Then you pour the red part A first. And I can't remember how much I did in this video, but got to go nice and easy, just enough to get it going. I don't remember if I did 100 or 150 on this one. I'm changing it to grams right there. So I pre-recorded a lot of these videos. I just wanted to get this all together. So it's a little bit different of a video than I'm used to making. So I believe I'm going to 150 is what I'm shooting for there. So you got to start trailing it off when you're getting close. Make sure you don't overdo it, okay? So very close right there. I think I'm at like 149. So then you have to do the other part, which I believe with this stuff, it is a 100 parts to 3 parts. So for 150, it's going to be 4.5 of the blue fluid. I'm putting in 4.5 or close to 4.5 grams of the blue. Then we're all set. Then you need to mix this very good. Now, one thing I will say is that it says on there that this does not really, no, actually this does say that it does need degassing. So you'd need to have a vacuum chamber to degas the air bubbles out of this, because you will introduce them when you start mixing this up. Just making sure I'm cleaning up everything a little bit just before I screw the lid on. I don't want that red stuff all over the place. You know how that stuff goes. Especially that little blue container, that stuff's very liquidy, and the red RTV part is actually very, very thick. So, got the weight out of there. Now we're going to mix it up. Like I said, you're going to mix quite good, and you are going to degas when we're done mixing. And you need to sit there and mix it really, really good. I mean, I think I sat there for quite a few minutes doing that, probably about 5 minutes or so. But the pot life on this is 40 minutes and cure time is 24 hours. So you got 40 minutes to play around with it to pour. So that's plenty of time to get what you need done. I think I had the process, I think after stirring and degassing and everything and pouring in there, I'm maybe like 10 minutes, something like that. So I don't think it's really too crazy of a time. 40 minutes, that's plenty of time to get what you need to get done. So again, make sure you stir it up very, very good. Once you get it all stirred up the way you want it, you should degas it. That's what I'm going to do here. Like I said, this is going to be just enough to do all of these molds. And again, one side of the mold is a negative and one side of the mold is a positive. So you're pouring both halves. I'm going to start the other video here, and we're okay now. So now we're actually pouring the actual molds. So nice and easy, got all the air out, degassed it. No air bubbles in there. And you can hit this with a little bit of a torch or heat gun after if there's a couple tiny little air bubbles. But the key part with this, pouring these, is you have to go nice and slow so you don't get any air bubbles or anything trapped anywhere in the design that you don't want. So as you can see, I'm kind of sticking to one spot where I pour, and I'm just pouring into that spot consistently and letting the silicone just ooze out to all the other areas and fill in all those little voids. So you got to be very careful when you get up to the top. You don't want to overfill these. If anything, I'd say you probably want to underfill them because you don't need to have them all the way to the top. But I think I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I just tried to get it as close to the top as I possibly could. There's one half. On to the next. So like I said, I'm going to probably just fly through this real quick just to show you don't have to see all this. So I'm going to speed it up and show you guys just a little bit more here. But again, very simple, very easy, not any different than pouring silicone molds for, hot plastic or, plastisol and stuff like that. It's really not any different other than the fact that this is going to be for lead, not for soft plastic. So that's why the high heat temperature RTV is very important in this. So again, fill them up as close as you can to the top. I believe I took a torch and torched the top of these just to get a little bit of the air bubbles out of there. But that's it. So now you let them sit for 24 hours, let them cure. And once we get done with the cure time, again, which is 24 hours, now we can demold, which is what I'm doing here right now. Taking off my daughter's hair bands. It's a good thing I have daughters. I can always use their stuff for other things. I mean, I use eyeshadow for baits, and I use their hair ties for stuff like this. It's kind of nice having all your supplies at your fingertips when you have girls. So just trimming off the excess edge in between that got stuck in between the plate and the mold box itself. So now we're pulling out the mold itself from the negative, and there you go. Nice, beautiful, crisp, clean design. Amazing, amazing looking bait. And I'm really amazed, and thank you again to Anthony over at Lazy Baits Co. He really helped me out with this, and this is the coolest thing ever. Now this didn't happen overnight. I mean, it took us probably 2-3 designs before we got to this point because of what we wanted to do, and I really helped him kind of understand this portion of what to do for these lead molds, and I was just helping him with design layout and stuff like that so we could figure out where to put the sprue and where to put, where I could put the line through wire and where I could put my screw lock and everything like that. So you'll see that in the next section of video. So pretty cool. I'm going to speed this up again. Just demolding all 4 of these, writing on the side with a Sharpie which size these are. This is 125 and 140. Which I believe that is I'm not sure which size that is. I'd have to look it up, but probably in the 3/8 to, no, probably half ounce or something like that. So it's all measured out in grams and everything by the time you actually measure it out and whatnot. So just labeling everything so I know which size is which. So on to the next video. Now we are going to be cutting some heavy duty wire for the line through portion of the bait. So cut a bunch of these to a specific size using wire size. I believe it's heavy duty wire. I want to say it is a 0.51 maybe, or something like that, diameter or something like, or 0.051. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up, but I can post that underneath. But again, you can use whatever wire you want according to the size, whatever you're using, right? That's really up to you. It just happens to be in these slots. I wanted them a little bit bigger than what, you know, a normal line. Then that way, if you're using heavier line, you can pass it through. So putting the line through wires in to the mold right across. Okay. Then take some hitch posts. Actually, that's not true. So what I showed you in the video, I am not using hitching posts. You can use hitch posts or screw locks, to be honest. You can use either one. So it doesn't really matter. But I use the screw locks mostly. That is a Do It product, and I believe it is item number 2017 is the Do It screw lock. Just in case you want to use either one. But you could use either one, a hitching post or a screw lock. But in my case, it really doesn't matter for this design. So all I'm doing now is cutting a little bit of a slot with a razor blade, with an X-Acto, so that I can squeeze my screw lock or hitch post in there. Okay, see how that just fits in there? Now the screw lock, actually, the metal part that's up inside there is a little bit different, so it doesn't stick out as much. So then I'm taking the mold itself with the screw lock and the wire, pass-through wire in it, and just clamping it. Don't clamp too hard. This is silicone. It will stretch and move. You just do it light enough to go around the mold and just keep it tight. That's all you want to do. Next thing you need is talc powder. This is kind of, it's not good to breathe in, and I that's why they took it out of baby powder formulas. So it's not the greatest thing to breathe in. You do not want to breathe this stuff in. So if you're going to work around this stuff, I really suggest that you put this underneath one of your vent fans, or do it outside, or whatever you intend on doing. But all I'm doing is taking some of this talc powder and I'm brushing it onto the molds. It's kind of like a little bit of a release agent, and also like a protectant against the silicone, so then that way it doesn't burn it too bad. So just brush it in. Even I want to get the sprue part too, just to make sure that that is coated as well. Okay. Then what I did is took it over to my vent fan and blew it out real good to get all the excess out of there. Okay, so it doesn't impede on the design. So again, going to do this on all four. And I'm just going to speed this up along here so we get this done. So got through that, put all my metal pieces back in. And now we're going to clamp everything shut. Again, clamp them, but just clamp them snug. You don't need to over tighten them. You just clamp them snug enough to close everything together, because you don't want to smush the mold. Again, this is RTV, not you know, CNC aluminum or aluminum. So clamp them up good. The next step is going to be pouring the actual lead. All right, so I got my lead pot hot. Now, important. Do not pour these at a super high temperature. It will destroy that RTV mold. You need to turn if you have a Lee lead pot like I do, I turned it down to about 3 or a little less than 3. and it's going to be right on that border of where the lead is starting to actually like pool up and harden a little bit on that tip that's on the bottom of the pot. So you just got to be very careful. You need to have the lead at the lowest melting point possible, and then when you pour it, you need to pour into the silicone mold. And then what I'm doing, that you're not seeing on camera right now, is I'm taking it down to the floor right here, and I'm opening that up. As soon as I see that the lead is not moving anymore and it's not liquidy, I open it up and just let it hit the floor on the concrete, and that way it cools it down. So here I am right now pouring it in, taking you over so I can show you this. See how that's liquidy still? Just keep it there until it hardens up. Okay, until you don't see that liquid anymore, which is right about here. Now it's solid. Now I'm gonna drop it and open it up. Then that way you're not ruining the mold, because you will ruin the molds over time. If the lead is too hot, it will burn the silicone right out of those molds. Okay? So pretty simple process, guys. Not too hard. I think I'm gonna take you up here and do it again. Just one more time, just for visual sake. So I'm going to add my wires, add my screw locks or hitch posts, whatever one you prefer to use. That just happens to be what I'm using on this design. Obviously, I'm not giving this away or anything. I'm actually making these, so you can, but I'm just showing you. You can use a lot of different things when you design your own molds. So it's pretty cool. So again, getting out the talc powder. Going to freshen up the powder on these molds. Okay. Going to get them all powdered up. Make sure they got a nice little anti-stick coating there. Blow out the extras like I did before. And then what you're going to do is you are going to put your wire forms in there, put your coils in there, and we're going to do it all over again. Okay. So putting them in the molds, taking them, clamping them up. Again, don't over tighten the clamps on these. It doesn't matter which type of mold if you want to mold something else bigger, just don't clamp them down too much, because you're gonna deform your bait inside. So get them all ready, take them back over to the lead pot. Again, remember that the lead temperature has to be as low as possible for you to do this. Okay. It has to be a low temperature, otherwise it will burn the silicone. I've done a lot of tests and trials on this. Believe me when I tell you, I did ruin one of them by pouring, like I normally pour it like number 8 on the heat scale on the lead pot, and that's really high heat. So in a CNC or aluminum mold, no problem. But in a silicone mold, you got to drop that temperature down to like between 2 and 3. Like I said, 2.5 to 3. That's the sweet spot. But again, pour the lead, bring it over, wait till it's not liquid anymore, open it up, let it fall apart. Then that way it doesn't burn the mold. That'll keep the longevity of your molds for a long time. And if you just repeat this process, it works great. Now, I did do a little bit of research before I did these videos, and I watched a couple other guys do this process. And again, they all use the same stuff. They use talc powder or any of the kind of stuff like that. You might even be able to get away with baby powder. I'm not sure about the baby powder nowadays. It's not as, doesn't have any talc in it, but it probably would work about the same. So there you have it, guys. That's how you get them poured. And I want to say I've got another video here, maybe 2, showing you guys weights and whatnot. So there's the product. Comes out. I cut the sprue off just so you guys could see it. So we're going from a 3D printed plastic mold negative to a lead weight, to a silicone mold to a lead weight. So there's my line through, right up through the middle of that screw lock. So that one's 13.8 grams, which I believe 14 grams is close to, let me do the math real quick. While you guys watch this, let me do the math. And I'm cutting the sprues off here, and I do like sand off or file off a little bit of that rough edge there on the side just to make it nice clean off any imperfections kind of deal. It's grams to ounces is what it is. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm being a turd. So 13.9 grams is a half an ounce. Okay, so half an ounce on the one. That other one is 19.5 ish. So first one was a half an ounce. This other one that we made was almost 3/4, just shy of 3/4, like 0.68. So we're not too far off from 0.75. So roughly 3/4. So that's a half ounce size and a 3/4 ounce size, which I think mostly what I'm doing is 3/8 for my favorite, the hatchet craw. All right, guys, well, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you really enjoyed that, but that goes from showing you how to make this on your 3D printer to this, the RTV silicone mold, to then into this, an actual lead weight that you can use on a craw, whatever. This is one of the big, this is the 3/4 ounce one. This one's pretty hefty. I don't know who's going to be using anything that big, but for bass and everything like that. And for my hatchet craws, I typically use a 3/8 ounce or a 1/4. So, but I just wanted to show you guys the process. Hopefully you guys really understood that, got that. I know there's a lot of bait makers out there that do lead and they really want to learn how to do that. And it's really not that complicated. Now, the complicated part is actually doing the design software that I need to dive into a little bit more. And I think I'm going to do that. And I'll show you guys some of that once I get to a certain point. But, pretty cool that you can make your own lead molds from a 3D printer and then just making a silicone mold. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I thought about that back in the past and I just never really went down that avenue. And now that I have a 3D printer, I got in touch with some friends and stuff. And again, Anthony from Lazy Bait Co. has been a savior on that. I mean, this is so cool that he helped me out on this and he designed it, not me. So kudos to him. And him and I have been helping each other out a lot lately, and he's really been kind of feeding my I don't know what you want to call it, my just creative fire. Let's put it that way. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. The Sticker Mule store is still open. I haven't had anybody order any shirts or anything yet. I'm surprised nobody's ordered a bait and tackle shirt yet. But if you go to Sticker Mule, I'll link it below. There is a bait and tackle store at the Sticker Mule thing, so you can buy T-shirts. I believe I've got my Big Eyed Fathead on there. I've got the Junior on there, Tombstone Kicker, my straight up bait and tackle logo, if that's what you want. But there's a whole bunch of different T-shirts on there, like 25 bucks, or they're not super expensive. I don't make much money off that. It's just something for you guys, so you guys can have, some shirts or whatever. I'd like to do hats at some point. I might do that at some point. So, but thank you guys again so much for watching. And as always, remember to keep on baiting.
Thank you.